I'm here in Qumran, and right behind me you can see one of the main caves with over 580 copies of the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. There's still more than half that have to be retranslated. I thank you for joining me at EliyahuChannel.com and HaRuachEliyahu. And welcome to the border of the edge of the Dead Sea, where the Qumran caves are of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Isn't it wonderful to be? It's a beautiful day in Jerusalem, in Israel, at the Dead Sea. It's not too hot, very good, and we're looking now at one of the side of the caves. What we call the Dead Sea Scrolls. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome to EagleshavenMinistry.com, HaRuachEliyahu channel, and EliyahuChannel.com. Welcome on this Shabbat, if you're celebrating Shabbat at this time frame, or if you finish your Shabbat from the land of Jerusalem, or you are in a different time frame. Either way, I speak shalom into you to have a good Shabbat and a good fellowship. Get some tea, get some coffee, kick back, and my voice sounds a little raspy. There's a reason why. But I'm going to do my best. We have a great fellowship today, what we're going to share with you. But I just want to ask that the Father will just barakah you, and may His berakat and berakot fall upon you and anoint you and empower you, that you have ears to hear the Torah, the Tanakh, the Brit Kadasha, that your Ruach will flow, the flow in you, the Ruach Kadosh will flow in you and touch your Ruach, touch your spirit man, spirit woman, to touch you and minister to you, to receive the Torah, to receive the word today that we're going to share. And we're going to just have a midrash of sharing some scriptures concerning our names. So Father, I just pray that you touch people's heart that are looking for the green light. They're at the stoplight, and there's all kinds of signal lights going everywhere, and the traditions of men are blocking them. And I pray that you break the traditions of men, and you break all the strongholds of traditions of religious spirits as well, and all the bylaws of man that try to superior over the Torah, the Torah, and the right rule of the prescribed instructions, that the people listening by CD or watching by DVD or watching live stream right now will be touched to receive from you in the Shem of Yahushua. Amen and Amen and Amen. And I welcome you now the upper room in beautiful colds, partly sunny, but it's been windy and cold. If I'm wearing a jacket, there's a reason, because it's cold up here in the upper room right now. The heater ain't on, so we're having some problems electrically there. But that's why I got a coat. But welcome you, and we love you, and thank you for tuning in. And we're going to have a great time today. What is your name? My name is what? What's my name? What's your name? Hello, my name is, you can't say it. You don't know what your name is, because you are caught up in the system of this world. And sometimes our family members, they think it's weird that we change to a Hebrew Israelite name, and they make fun, or they don't want to pronounce it, because they have no understanding of the revelation of the Hebrew writings. But what we're going to do today, we're going to break down some things for you. What's my Hebrew name? What is my Hebrew name? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come to that revelation of what is your Hebrew name. Okay, what is your Hebrew name? What is it? Do you want to change your name? Does your American name or French name, a Native American name, have a good meaning already, and you just leave it like it is? I want to encourage you, if you're the person that's seeking it out, and you still got what they call a Catholic Roman pagan name, or do you have a name for Yahuwah that's in the scriptures, a Hebrew name? Back in the days of the proselyting of the Catholic Church, They told everybody that what's their Christian name when they were forcing children into boarding homes in the Native American tribes in the United States and Canada. They would give them a Christian name. They would christen them, throw water on them, sprinkle on them, and give them a Christian New Testament. I don't call it New Testament. I'm just speaking what they say. Name, and they say, and I've heard even I've read material where the Native American would say his name, and he said, but his Christian name was, because the Catholic missions went there and they christened him with water, and then they turn around and give him a Roman Apostolic Catholic / Christian name, which most of the time, if they say John, it's not Yochanan. If they say Mark, it should be Marcos. If it's Luke, Lucas, or if it's Matthew, it's Matthew. So they given them the wrong phonetic sound and the wrong meanings of that name. Your name has meaning. What's the problem? I'm speaking into your heart right now. Is there a problem with the names of changing your name? The Pope changes his name. This Catholic fake guy they call Father, he changes his name. Nobody else complains. Barack Hussein Obama is Barry Soetoro. He changed his name and everybody knows it. Said it out of his mouth, his wife's mouth, everybody. Nobody says no complaints. And it's really a really systematic fake name, because part of it is Hebrew, part of it's Aramaic, and part of it is of another language. So Barack Hussein Obama. So, and we know on what the Barack Obama means. So it's lightning falling from the sky on the mountain of a high place of temple pagan worship in Hebrew. So in Aramaic, it's a slightly different meaning. So he changed his name. Nobody has a problem. We know that, if you look at the Mexicans, Americans in the United States, if they're from Mexico or if they're Chicanos, or they're Pochos. A Pocho or Chicano, those are ones that are born here, but they come from Mexican heritage. We see a lot of the Afro-Americans in the last 20 years were already taking a leap of emunah, even if they were Christians or they were from another belief system or they're Rastafarian. They were changing their names to part of Hebrew names, but they were going more into African names. So you've seen a lot of African names of Hebrew, what they call African roots, especially after the movie Roots came in. People were changing their name. Is there a problem when they changed their name? Nobody had a problem with them when the Africans changed their name. They were going back to their heritage. And if you are grafted into the house of Israel and you want to get yourself a Hebrew name, not what we call a Christian, Christianized. Take that bottle and break it on the ship and you've been Christianed. Like Emperor Constantine said, he wants to Christianize or Christian the whole Roman Empire, to Christian them with water, a sprinkle or spraying or whatever of that form of the Latin word baptismo, which is not mikvah tevilah, being totally immersed. So, there was nothing wrong with Afro-Americans changing their name, but all of a sudden, if you're a Hebrew Israelite or you're a person that crafted in the house of Israel and you want to change your name to a real Hebrew name, not a Christian name, not what they call Christian, because that's a fake label, okay? But the Hebrew name of our forefathers, Abraham, Ishak, and Jacob, Yisrael. And there's a problem all of a sudden. But look at the Mexican Americans today here. The Mexican Americans that are born in the United States, did they change their name? No. They're still Ricardo Rodriguez Sanchez. They're still Emilio. They're still, whatever name they had, they're still the same. So there's a fake saying going around that they say, and we're going to explore a little bit. We got time. This might go into two parts. That in the Christian Bible, they say that it was written in Greek, and then they turn around and they Greekize or Latinize the names and places and things, which we know a lot of more Roman Latin than original Hellenic Greek. So there's a little bit of problems with the phonetic sounds, okay? Some of the names were actually clean translations with the same meaning from Hebrew to Greek, but most of them were transliterated. The rumor, the fake, preconceived, microwave, gurgitated lie is that the whole scriptures, they call the Bible, the Biblos, was written in total Greek, which we know that's false now because of the not only the Qumran Dead Sea Scrolls, but also the idioms in the writings, especially in the book of Matthew. They have the original book of Matthew written in Hebrew in Israel Museum. The book of HaRuachEliyahu, it was originally in Hebrew. Marcos, Luke, it could have been in Hellenic Greek, or what they call the type of Greek which was more translation than transliteration, with place markers. So, because we know Lucas and Marcos are Greek-speaking, converted Hebrew Israelites, okay? So, but we know in Matthew and Yahuchanan that was a Hebrew book, and the book of Hebrews is written in Hebrew. And we can see that names, places, things have never been changed. Never been changed. Name, place, things never been changed. It's amazing how they think that Nazareth is an English word or a Greek word. It's not. Or Jerusalem is actually from the ancient Canaanites. That place where Melchizedek ruled on them. So, and Israel never changed the name. They adopted it into the Hebrew language, the location, the place, because of Melchizedek and that Shalom city. So there's that fake preconceived idea that the writings are original, written in Greek, and that people's names were Greek because they were assimilated by Rome. First Greek conquest, assimilation, forced conquest, assimilation, and then there's the Roman occupation that came 75 years after Maccabees and Hanukkah. But so now, remember this though, that doesn't make sense, because today, if a Japanese person from Japan, unless they have American father, their last name will be Anglicized, but the first name must be Chinese or Japanese or Spanish. And if the Mexican people are here in the United States, and the borders were created and the land was assimilated, they became natural citizens because they were born here back in the early 19 and mid 1900. They didn't Anglicize their names just because they're now Americans. No, the Chicanos, the Pochos, the Mexican Americans, and also the Chinese Americans and the Japanese Americans, the Korean Americans, they keep their first and last name unless they were intermarried with an Anglo. Okay? An Afro-American, they were married to, the man is an Afro-American, got a last name, or a Caucasian, he's got a last name, but the first name of the child, usually they would talk about it, if it's going to be an Anglo name or a Chinese, Korean, or Spanish name. But I know this for sure, all my Mexican friends still got Spanish names, first and last. So, recognizing that and understanding that understanding, if people complain they're being, like, say, well, they were assimilated, so they were forced by the Romans to change. No, that's a fake Catholic preconceived idea. It's all fake it till you make it ideas, and the preacher regurgitate it, microwave it, and keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. It's all lies and deception. Remember that. Because in reality, it doesn't happen today. If I go to Russia, marry a Russian woman, that woman will have my last name that will be Anglo-Saxon, which is Childa, which is ancient Hebrew, all right, before the Norms conquered that area and Anglicized and what they call Latinized the letters. But the first name, we will make a choice on our children to be Russian or American or whatever. And some of the Russian is actually Orthodox Catholic names. They use Orthodox Greek Catholic names, okay? So they call it Christian names. So it doesn't happen today. Slap yourself, wake up to the reality. That's a fake preconceived idea. There's a lot of people that are assimilated, or you call, they come to America, take the Arabs. The Arabs come here. Do they change their first and last names? They might change their first name a little bit. They have a second first name, Americanized, so people will not look at them funny. But do they change their last name? No, it's still Arab. They're Americanized. They swore it into citizenship, not the illegal ones coming in as fake Syrian Islamic terrorist refugees. But I'm talking about the ones that are good citizens here with the Arab last names, Persian, Moroccan. Did they change their names because they become American citizens? No. Have some common sense here. It doesn't happen today. It didn't happen in the days of old. Now, especially for Yehudi, especially from one of the 12 tribes of Israel. When you go for your baby being circumcised, that's the finalization of that name. The father and mother make agreement and give the name, or the father can supersede and override the mother's word for that name and give the child a name, and he would have a second name, a mother-given name and a father-given name if they choose it. But once they're circumcised, that name is in print, documented. In the lineage of that tribe, that's their name. You think they're going to walk the streets and call themselves Greeks just because a bunch of Roman soldiers are running around occupying them? No way they're going to do that. That doesn't make sense. That is a fake Catholic stimulation. Now, in Catholicism, they forced a lot of people. Reason we have a lot of the Latinized Spanish names because their ancestors were forced under the Spanish rule to get the Christian, they're being Christianed, they're being baptized into Catholicism, and so they ended up with those fake Christian to the names. So I just want to clarify that, and I spent some time. I want to look you in the eye and let you know that get that, flush that stuff out. Get a brain wipe of that fake it till they make it ideas that they gurgitate and microwave and pass it from pastor to pastor. They read in some books and then they pass it on with that fake understanding. And no one's ever been to the museums in Israel to see the real the book, the scroll of the Sefer of Mattheyahu or Yahuchanan that's written in Hebrew or even in the Hellenic Greek with all the place markers telling them when to speak Hebrew names and places things. If we were to go to Japan, if I go to Saudi Arabia, if I go anywhere, I watch German things with word writings. I see Aramaic things, people from Persia, different parts of the world, or Chinese with English writings. And when they get to the thing about LAX on the 405 freeway, they don't have a translation for it. They say LAX 405 freeway. I've heard them on TV. I watch RT News and I hear Russian and they got translated in English, and I hear them. They're talking about Microsoft software, Microsoft Windows 10. Is that, they might say they don't even change the word 10. They can't change the word 10. But there's certain words that it's a universal words. Name, places, things do not change. Okay? Unless the occupier said, well, this city used to be called, this nation, this town was Jerusalem, the nation of Israel, but we call it as Islamics Palestine, or we call it as the UN Palestine. But they would explain it. They call it Israel, we call it Palestine. Okay? They would not play with that. All right? So they explain it. All right? But see, wherever you go, they respect you. They're not going to call me Toyota, Datsun, Kawasaki. They're going to call me Eliyahu Childs. Plain and simple. They're going to respect me in my name and introduce me that way when I speak in their meetings. It's the same thing. So get that out of your head. Name, places, things never change. So in our scriptures, especially in the Brit Kadasha, you have Roman, you have Greek, you have a very Latinized Greekish words and cities, name, place, things, and then you also have Hebrew and Hebrew Aramaic. Okay, you got the ancient Hebrew phonetic sounds and then the modern Hebrew. Right there in the New Testament. The New Testament, the Brit Kadasha, it is not 100% English and it's not 100% Greek. Even if it was written in Greek, if you get the Greek translation and you read it in Greek, it would have name, places, things phonetically sounding the same. Nazareth is Nazareth. In Greek, Latin, whatever. They call it Nazarene or something like that. But for the person, but there's no difference. You can see this, you can hear the sound in the word, that you know what the word is. Okay? So I want to clarify that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to, let's see. We're going to go to the scriptures and we're going to break it down. So let me put a different screen on for you. Chapter 13, verse 9. Okay. In the King James version of your scriptures, right above you, as you know, the word Paul begins in chapter 13, verse 9. It does not exist in Matthew, Marcus, Lucas, or Yohanan. It starts in the book of Acts 13, verse 9. Then Shaul, who also is called Paul, filled with the HaRuachEliyahu, set his eyes on him. Take a look at that. Now with ISR, it's corrected. Then Shaul, filled with the HaRuachEliyahu, is looking intently at him. Why it doesn't have that bracket like it does in King James? I'll tell you why. Because if you go to your preface of your King James Bibles or New International Version, they'll tell you that anything if you got a preface, and they're phasing out prefaces, and by doing that, what they're doing is they're actually phasing out the guidelines, the rules of engagement. You see a light letter italics. That's an English add-on of filler words. But look what it does to this little insert. Who also is called Paul. So let's take out the modern King James insert. Who also Paul. All right? Now, what are these two brackets right here mean? If you read your preface, that means it was not in the original Greek manuscripts. Not in the original manuscript. So let's read it now. Then Shaul, filled with the HaRuachEliyahu, set his eyes on him. The Catholic Church, when they translated the King James, they used Catholic. They used they call the Catholic Codex of the Latin Vulgate language, as well as a few other codexes to translate. The Geneva translation as well. They use like 3 or 4 different translations, but all stemming from the Catholic. By doing that, they inherited lies from their Catholic forefathers. Not my forefathers, their forefathers. Okay? So we're going to 1 Samuel, or Samuel Aleph, chapter 25, verse 25. Please let not my master regard this man of Belial, Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. This is the title of this message. For as your name is, so are you. As your name is, so are you. That's the title of this message. For as his name is, so is he. Nabal in his name is his name, and folly is with him. But I, your female servant, did not see the young men. And my master, you got to read the story about this, where the wife of Nabal was making a means to Malek David to protect everybody else by what she did. And you read the story in that chapter. But the main topic I want to show you was that for his name is Belial Nabal, okay? And which means the word dolt, which is folly, okay? So now, that is his name. He walked in that name. He lived in that name. And because of that caused his actions from his childhood to his adulthood. Because as your name is, it's spoken into your name. So if you had a Christian name, or you have a pagan name of Christian name, like they paganized, of grace, faith, mercy, or some other, or Victoria, or famous one even among Jews is Esther. And her real name is Adasha, and we're going to look at that the only reason why they gave her Easter, the Malek, the sovereign, named her after his deity, Estara. He named her after his god, his pagan deity. It wasn't her real name. Her real name is Adasha, so they gave her a pagan name because of her beauty, to match what they picture in their images of their mind that Estara looks like, okay? So if you do have those pagan names, pray about it, discern, seek the Father, and then look at Hebrew names. Take your time, pray, Get some confirmation witnesses from others. Don't go around asking a bunch of people, because especially the Christian community, family members, they're going to put doubt and unbelief. And if they do, just remind them, hey, your president, Barack Hussein Obama, changed his name. His name is Barry Sotora. Pope changes his name. Mexicans and Japanese and Chinese don't change their name to Americanize when they come. Just strengthen yourself. Be encouraged. This message is to encourage you. But if you have a clean name with a clean meaning, keep it. No problem with that. People ask you, well, what's your name mean? You tell them what your name means. If your name means, when somebody speaks your name, like my name was Robert, which means a bright light leader winner. But if I say Rob has no meaning. Robert does. Okay? So there's certain names and words, when they're shortened them, nickname, that has no meaning. So, but when I have a friend named Mike, and I told him from now on I'm going to call you Michael, because that name means different than Mike. Mike has no meaning. Michael does. So I wanted to, every time I see him, I speak his name, and he calls those things as not as though they are, according to the scriptures. As your name is, so are you. So is what you're going to be. So what you're going to grow up to be. Okay? Now, of course, in tradition, in Hebrew and Native American tradition, there is traditions where they grow into that name, and then they give them that name as they grow up. That's why Native American and Hebrew understanding, the tribal understanding of Israelis, is similar to Native Americans, that they can grow in and mature to if a person becomes a rebel, a thief, a robber, or a gangster, or alcoholic, they won't even say his name. Oh, that's so-and-so, he's an alcoholic. That's so-and-so, he's a dope fiend. That's so-and-so, you better not let him in your house. He'll steal you blind in your house. He's built up a character reputation by his evil. His name became evil. Okay? We're going to Bereshit chapter 17, verse 1. We're going to start from verse 1, and we're going to continue. It's Shabbat. Relax, drink your tea, break some bread, and enjoy yourself as we continue, because there's going to be several parts when I get done with it. And it came to be when Abram was 99 years old that Yahuwah appeared to him and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be perfect. Be perfect, for I'm perfect, says Yahuwah. Okay? And I give my covenant between me and you, and shall greatly increase you. And Abraham fell on his face, and Elohim spoke with him, Aloha, saying, as for me, look, my covenant is with you, and you shall become a father of many nations. Many nations. And no longer is your name called Abram. 99 years old. Got a name change that changed everything. But your name shall be Abraham, because I shall make you a father of many nations. Now remember, we looked at this word, nations, and this word, nations, if we would go to look it up in another translation, it is 1471, is goy. And they have the nerve to take this Catholic Greek word Gentile, gentilis, and place it over it. In Greek, they don't even use that word. It's ethnos. It's a Greek word, ethnos. Why replace ethnos for nations with another Greek word, gentilis? Because they're giving a wrong word pointing to another direction. See, Abraham became the father of many goy and goyim, sojourners. People are journeying and seeking. Yes, heathen nation, people that don't have covenant, but if they circumcise and make covenant according to Abraham's understanding of the Abrahamic covenant, or dispensation, they become grafted in even back then. So, but Abraham had many sons and daughters besides the seed of destiny. Abraham, Ishak, Jacob. Okay, so now, it's supposed to be in Greek, ethnos, races and nations, or goy, goyim, or goyi, meaning a sojourner or a person that is a foreign nation or foreign person, a foreigner, okay, but a great amount. They put the word heathen, and that's not necessarily so if they're, or you'd be calling Abraham a heathen. And I will make you exceedingly, let me go back to the, and I shall make you bear fruit exceedingly and make nations of you, and sovereigns shall come from you. So he's 2 to 3 times they're saying, I'm going to make you a father of many goy, or goyim. And these are the people that scattered all over the world. They don't know who they are. They're Israelites, Hebrew, and don't know who they are, and they're grafting in. And they might say, well, I'm not Jewish. It's okay. You're Hebrew, grafted in through Abraham, all right? In through Yahushua, the blood covenant of Yahushua. You come through the blood covenant of Abraham, come through the blood covenant of Moshe, and come through the blood covenant of Yahushua, okay? And also, and I shall make you bear exceedingly and make nations, bear fruit exceedingly and make nations of you. And you have many sons and daughters, as we know in the book of Bereshit. And I shall establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you in their generations for an everlasting covenant to be aloha to you and your seed after you. To be Elohim. And even their seed. So even all the ones that are not under Abraham, Ishak, Yaakov, but they're going because he has other sons and daughters. Okay? And I shall give to you and your seed after you the land of your sojourners. So you're a sojourner. Okay? You are a sojourner. You are journeying in your religious prospects. They say stranger here, magor, but it means a person of temporary abode, an extension of permanent residence, a dwelling, a pilgrim, a sojourner. Okay? At the land of Canaan as an everlasting possession, and I shall be their Elohim. And Aloha said to Abraham, as for you, guard my covenant. Here's the key to follow Abraham and get his berikot. You and your seed after you throughout their generations. They have a guard the covenant. And this is my covenant which you guard between me and you and your seed after you. After you throughout their generations. And Aloha said to Abraham, as for you, guard my covenant, you and your seed after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant which you guard between me and you and your seed after you. Every male child among you is to be circumcised. And you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall become a sign of the covenant between me and you. It's the sign of the covenant. Verse 12, and a son of 8 days is circumcised by you, and every male child in your generations, he is born in your house or bought with silver from any foreigner who is not of your seed. So these are people grafting in. They weren't even part of the clan, and they were coming in later. They would be circumcised just to be in the clan, okay, being part of the group, the band. That is the name change of Abraham and the covenant they have. Let's look at Galut or Galatians. Galatians chapter 3 verse 26. For you are all sons of Aloha through belief in Messiah Yahushua. For as many of you as were immersed into Messiah have put on Messiah. There is no Yehudite nor Greek. There is no slave nor free. There is no male nor female. For you are all one in Messiah Yahushua. And if you are Messiah, then you are the seed of Abraham and heirs according to the promise. You see that? So through the blood covenant of the Messiah, they get grafted in, and then further grafting in into the seed of Abraham and heirs according to the promise. So you get the inheritance of Abraham. That's right. You get the inheritance. You're an heir, and you get the inheritance of Abraham through these processes. So just because you got the Messiah, Yahushua, doesn't mean you're not connected to Abraham and not Hebrew. Ivriet Yisrael. So get this understanding, and this is a confirmation of witness in the Brit Kadasha. Now let's go to another name change to Sarah. And we're going to go to Genesis chapter 17 now. Back to Bereshit 17, verse 15. So he got a name change. Now Sarah's turn, because they're a covenant and they're one, and the offspring's got to be in covenant of one. So she gets a name change. And Aloha said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your spouse, do not call her name Sarai, for Sarah is her name. And I shall barakah her, and also give you a son by her, and I shall barakah her, and she shall become nations. Again, telling her she's going to have nations. Sovereigns of people are to be from her. And Abraham fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart, is a child born to a man who is 100 years old? Or is Sarah, who is 90 years old, to bear a child? Now he got his name changed in 99. He's claiming to be 100, I guess the laws of average. His wife's 10 years younger than him, past the time of giving birth, to bear children, excuse me. And Abraham said to Aloha, oh, let Ishmael live forever. And Aloha said, no, Sarah, your wife, is truly good, bearing a son to you, and you should call his name Ishak. And I shall establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant with his seed after you. So he's explaining clearly that it's not going to be with, Ishmael will have inheritance. His seed will have inheritance. 12 princes will come out of him. But the 12 princes will come out of Sarah. She has to get her name changed. There's certain supernatural things that took place where she got healed, and I'm not going to go into that topic right now. She got healed, and from that moment forward, she got bare. Okay, so Elohim said to no, Sarah, your wife is truly bearing a son to you, and you shall call his name Ishak, and I shall establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. As for Ishmael, now what about him? I have heard you. See, I shall barakah him, and shall make him bear fruit, and greatly increase him. He is to bring forth 12 princes, and I shall make him a great goy too, or goyim, sojourner. But he repeats it in verse 21. But my covenant I established with Ishak from Sarah is to bear to you at this set time next year. So he's locking it in. Her name, she got a name change. She gets a name change from Sarai to Sarah. Okay? For Sarah is her name. From now on, there's the name change. And if we look at it as 8297, dominative. Now, if we look at Sarah, it's 8283. It actually means the same, but it has more multiple understanding with Sarah than Sarai. Okay, so they got name changes. Did they question it? No, I like my name. Everybody knows me by my name. I catch chicks by my name. I don't want to change my name. I'm 99. I'm 90 years old, and we're not going to get a name change now. Some people get stubborn. They don't want to change their names. Okay, when the Father gives a personal name change, they don't want to change it. Let's go to. Let's see here. Bereshit chapter 25, verse 30. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray you, with that same red pottage. See, pottage is not there. That's a light letter that was inserted by the King James movement. All right, the pottage is not there. But they knew there was some kind of stew or something going on here. With that same red, for I am faint, therefore was his name called Edom. The Edomites. Okay? So, even Esau got a name change. 62:15. He got a name change from his name, all right, rough handling, to red man. Probably because he was red too. Or he liked that red stew. So they nicknamed him in time. A new name. Let's go to Bereshit chapter 35. Verse 18. And it came to be as her high was going out, for she died. All right. And you can go up here and look at the story. Rachel began to be a birth, Rachel, and had great difficulty giving birth. And it came to be as she was having great difficulty giving birth, that the midwife said to her, do not be scared or afraid, for it is another son for you. And it came to be as her high was going out of her, for she died, that she called his name Ben-Oni. She decided to call him Ben-Oni, okay, which means son of trouble or son of sorrow. But the father stepped in and called him Ben-Yamin, son of my right hand, Yamin, Ben-Yamin. Ben is his son. So he didn't want, his wife named him, and when she was dying of her sorrow, he said, no, we're giving a name check. We're not going to let that word out of this tent go out of the mouth of anybody calling him Ben-Oni or Elonai. He will be Ben-Yamin of my right hand. And there's the word. Son of my sorrow, son of my trouble. If you go to here, 1144 in Hebrew, the right hand, son of his right hand. All right? So, the father had the right to step in from even a dying woman's wish, because the man is the overseer. Even after, right at that moment, he changed his son's name. He was not going to let his son walk the earth and be called the son of sorrow. Okay? He was going to be called son of his right hand. All right? Now let's go to Bereshit, let's go to, chapter 28. Verse 10. This thing is so choosy what it wants to do when you hit the buttons. And Jacob went out. Let me turn it to ISR. Went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. Verse 11. And he came upon a place and stopped over for the night, for the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of that place and put it at his head, and he lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed and saw a ladder set up on the earth, and its top reached to the Shamaim, and saw messengers of Elohim, or Aloha, going up and coming down. Wow. This is a good experience. to see that take place. Verse 13, and see, Yahuwah stood above it and said, I am Yahuwah, Aloha of Abraham, your father, and Aloha of Ishak, the land at which you are lying, I give it to you and your seed. So he's got a fresh covenant now, passing down from Abraham to his son. And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall break forth to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All the clans of the earth shall be baruched in you and in your seed. All of them. Verse 15, and see, I am with you and shall guard you wherever you go, and I shall bring you back to this land. For I am not going to leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you. He says, I'm not leaving you until everything's coming to pass, how many years it takes. I'm not going to abandon you and never leave you nor forsake you. And Jacob woke up from his sleep and said, truly Yahuwah is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of Aloha, and this is the gate of Shabaim, or porthole. When you look it up in the Greek, it's like a porthole. And Jacob rose up early in the morning and took the stone that he had put at his head and set it up as a standing column and poured oil on top of it. He wasn't worshiping it. He made it as a monumental memorial marker to know where it was at when he comes back again. And he called the name of that place Bethel. However, the name of that city had been Luz. Let's look at this. Luz, as growing there, is a term of growing there, as growing there. But the name was changed. Even though the townspeople and everybody called it Luz, in Spanish that would be light, but here it says growing there. It's a place in the borders of Israel. Okay, now, in Israel. He said, I will call it Bethel, the house of Yah. Bethel, the house of the Mighty One. Bethel. Okay. Bait, house, Mighty One. See that? Bait, El or Al, Bait, house, Mighty One. Bethel. Okay. And Jacob bowed a bow. I want to go back to reading it normal with the ISR. And Jacob made a vow saying, see, Aloha is with me and has kept me in this way that I am going, and has given me bread to eat and garment to put on. When I have returned to my father's house in Shalom, and Yahuwah has been my Aloha. So he's making his own personal covenant. Even though he inherited covenant from his forefathers, from Abraham, and even though he knew the stories of Abraham, this is his book of Acts. This is his story of his experiencing with the ladder from Shabaim and that porthole, and he declaring that place the house of Yahuwah, which eventually the house of Yahuwah was built there. Then this stone which I have set as a standing column shall be Aloha's house, and of all that you give me, I certainly give a tenth to you. So he wasn't tithing before. Okay, so he's starting to tithe. He's getting the revelation of everything, probably doing everything through his father. Did it stick with him? Did he stick, Jacob? Did it stick with him? Did it? He made a covenant. He made a covenant with the Father, but did it stick? He had to go back to he had to come back here later on, which we're going to turn to chapter 32 now of Bereshit, remembering the story. Verse 22, 32, 22. And he arose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 female servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford of Yabok. And he took them and sent them over the stream and sent them over what he had. And Yaakov was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of Yom. And when he saw that he did not overcome him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Yaakov's hip was dislocated as he wrestled with him. And he said, "Let me go, for the Yom breaks." But he said, "I am not letting you go until you have baruched me." So he asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Yaakov." And he said, "Your name is no longer called Yaakov, but Yasharal, because you have strive with Aloha and with men and have overcome." Of course, the footnote here is Israel means to strive with the mighty one. Strive with the mighty one. It could be a messenger, an angel. That angelico is a Catholic Latin word, but it's a melekim, a melech. And melech, he strived with the mighty melech, to overcome with the mighty one, then to rule with mighty. And then the funny thing happens. Jacob asked him, saying, "Please let me know your name." Never thought they were going to exchange names. No, it didn't happen that way. And he said, "Why do you ask about my Shem?" And he baruched him there. That's it. He never responded to the messenger. I believe it was Yahushua. That's my personal belief. Okay? Now I don't got no. We got all. It's all a gas, a mystery. Who it was. Okay? So now, did he continue? Did he continue to? He at first did not call himself when his name was changed. It had to happen twice, and it's going to be 3. It's going to actually be presented to him several times, where it'll be presented to him to make sure he gets it locked in. Now, we're going to discontinue this part. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. We thank the Father for the opportunity to come into your home and share this with you, and to come in and share the revelation of what we're going to tear. The title of this message is, "As Your Name Is, So Are You." So if you're praying and discerning to change your name, I encourage you. If your Native American name or your African name has a good clean meaning, keep it. If you want to change it to a Hebrew name, change it. Pray about it. Discern it. It has to go with your characteristics. If you go to Kabbat.com, you can go and look at the calendar and set your birth date or your date of birth in there, and you can get the proper Hebrew, according to the Hebrew calendar, your date. And when you get the proper date, according to the Hebrew calendar, you'll get the Torah readings that were read that hour you were born, or between the 3 or 4 hours of the 5 prayers of Yom. The rabbis do, even today in Israel. And then you can find your real scriptural attachment according to your Shem of birth. And you can read it and pray, because there's 99.999% of the time there's scriptures. When you give the accurate information of your accurate, you change. Like my date of birth is Teshari 21. I don't go by the Pagan Gregorian calendar. I go by the Hebrew calendar. My date of birth is Teshari 21. And I thank the Father for given me some good years. of height on this earth of sojourning. But once you find your Hebrew calendar, you'll find the locked-in date and the locked-in scriptures. There'll be sometimes 2 or 3 chapters, sometimes 1 chapter that was spoken during that one of the 5 times of prayer. And those scriptures a lot of times show the characteristics of who you are, and you can get a feel of who your name is. Okay? That's one way to look at it. Also, you could pray, so I encourage you to pray. Don't make a name up. Let the Father give you a good Hebrew name, so when you travel and go to Israel, you run into Yehudi Israelis, you give them a good Hebrew name, or you could search the scriptures in Hebrew, the correct phonetic sounds, and you can speak the clean words of the names, and you know the Father has given you that name. So this is what is your Hebrew name? What's my Hebrew name? I want to know. Well, I encourage you to research it. This is a message of encouragement. The enemy has really attacked me through the satellite. I know it's only technical stuff. It's the prince of the power of the air, they're flying around blocking my satellite, But anyways, you go ahead and you enjoy your Shabbat. You pray about it. Next week I'll come back for part 2. And we're going to take our time. I'm going to show you the different people that got the names all the way through Revelations, all the different name changes. And you be encouraged to search and find, if you desire to change your name to a clean name from the pagan names of whatever your ancestry has inherited lies. You go in Shalom, and you have a good Shabbat Shalom in the Shem of Yeshua Mashiach. Amen.